According to Freddie Mac, mortgage rates dropped steadily over the last several weeks of 2023, averaging 6.61% for a 30-year fixed mortgage. And there are some signs that market conditions will improve in the new year. For a look at what the housing market could look like this year, we're joined by President of RE/MAX of Southeastern Michigan. Jeanette Schneider is here with us, and also CEO of the Lee Group, Mark S. Lee. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. First of all, we talked about what we saw at the end of 2023. Where do you see things going in 2024, Jeanette?
Well, I think if we're looking at interest rates, I think that what you just reported on, that they're back into the sixes. They had hit 8% in the fall, and that was like a 20-year high. So they're already receding, and we kind of anticipate they're going to stay in the sixes this year, maybe heading towards 5 in 2025. So that's welcome news for the buyers that are out there.
Yeah, everyone likes to see a drop in interest rates. Now, Mark, when it comes to economic growth, how do interest rates impact that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Think about it. You have more money. The lower the interest rate in terms of buying a home, the more money you have in your pocket, more money that you can spend. And if you have more money in your pocket, you can invest it back in the economy overall. And when people are buying homes, they're going to go out and try to certainly invest in the home, invest in the community. So from an economic standpoint, it makes a whole lot of sense. The last piece is they have lower interest rates. It does encourage home building, which encourages construction jobs. It encourages other additional spending in the neighborhood. So it's all good if the interest rates are low.
Kind of has that domino effect,
It does,
right?
yes.
Well, there's a lot of buzz among agents. I mean, they're all talking everywhere you go, talking about, are we going to see more houses up for sale right now? Inventory is so low, and will we see more agents entering into the business this year, you think?
I think a couple of different questions there. As far as more inventory, oh my goodness, it would be great to have more inventory. That's really the biggest factor impacting our industry right now, is the lack of inventory. There's just so many people that love that rate that they haven't left their house. I do think this spring we're going to start to see a bit more inventory coming on. It won't be a flood, but I do think we're going to start to see more inventory. As interest rates have moderated a little, there's a comfort level there, so I think we're going to see that. As to the agents getting in or out of the market, right now we're kind of on agent membership numbers are always kind of a trailing factor, right? The market kind of changed. It became a little tougher last year to be an agent because there wasn't much to sell. So we're starting to see the National Association of Realtors membership decline right now. And I think that will continue for the first half of the year. Now, if we have a nice, robust spring, if we have a better spring, that's going to attract people back in. So we'll probably see numbers head in the other direction towards the end of the year. So I think it's going to be kind of the tale of two halves of the year this year.
And Jeanette, if I could ask you real quick, are you expecting this year, do you see more people making cash offers for houses this year, or do you anticipate the traditional mortgages to continue to increase?
Great question. And I would say last year we saw about a third of the transactions were cash that we had, and I think we're going to see more cash because we've got a lot of people that have good equity. We have 39% of people own their homes with no mortgage at all right now. So if they decide this is the year to either move on, whether that's downsizing or upsizing, they're going to have money in their pocket. And so I do think we're going to see more cash deals, which is going to put pressure on first-time buyers, right?
Sure
because that's the one group that probably doesn't have cash to buy a house.
Right.
Not enough for a house. So I'm curious, so last year with interest rates, or last few years being relatively high, especially when you said they hit close to 8% or 8%, I mean, the lack of inventory kept house prices in the Detroit metro area relatively high.
Yes.
So if there's more inventory coming on, do you see those prices lowering at all?
Probably not much. I think because we still have we have a lot of demand. And even if we do get more inventory this year than what we've had the last, let's say, year to two, there's more demand than there's going to be houses coming on the market. That dynamic, even with more inventory, isn't going to change. And so I do think, we're going to see, it won't necessarily skyrocket, but I think those moderate, kind of steady month-over-month increases, I do expect to continue.
And when we talk about home buying, obviously we always talk about location, location, location. Are there any specific areas across Metro Detroit where we might see some significant changes, or are things going to pretty much stay the same?
I think I think the popular areas for, let's say, first-time buyers remain the popular areas, right? And kind of similar for the move-up buyers, where you get maybe the bigger yard and you move a little further out to the burbs. But I mean, if you look across town, communities, let's say like St. Clair Shores or Livonia, places like that are always very popular with first-time buyers, as is that kind of Royal Oak, Clawson area. That's always very popular for first-time buyers. I don't necessarily see a lot of that changing. And then, of course, you have the communities where there is new construction, like you talked about. And, that's going to happen a little bit more either to the far west, the far north, but then those attract the folks that are looking for new construction.
Yeah, so what advice do you have for first-time home buyers who can't come up with a big pile of cash just to plunk down on a house?
Be really nice to your parents and grandparents. No, if you don't, you want to be talking to a local lender. And I would say it's great to do your research online, but talk to somebody local. Explain your situation. Let them tell you maybe the different programs you're going to qualify for that you may not know on your own. So I would definitely get with the lender and talk to them and really understand what do you need to put down to be conventional. It's not 20%. And they may not know that, especially if you're getting advice from a parent who hasn't bought a home in a long time. You know, things have changed, so you want to talk to a lender that's an expert at that.
This industry is an important part of Detroit's economy, and the only thing I would encourage all of you to do is do your homework, and if you got the monies to invest in a house, go ahead and do that. But the bottom line is, think about it from an economic standpoint, from a business standpoint. The more money that we spend, the more jobs that we can create, and the more economic development there will be for Metro Detroit and beyond.
Mark, you're always telling me to spend my money. I can't save a
Somebody's gotta
dime.
do it.
Some of us don't have a problem doing that, Mark.
Look at that. Jeanette, Mark, thanks a lot for coming in this morning. Really appreciate that.